How to not get into a rut of failures, a rut of just living a bad life. I'm going to put it straight, a bad life, a life that you're not so pleased with. You're going a certain direction, you're not improving, and then you fall back and you just get into an absolute rut that you can't find yourself out of. There are a lot of videos out there, how to get yourself out of this rut, but this is about how to not allow yourself to get into that rut in the first place. The thing is, you got to understand that no matter how much you try and prevent it, try and be aware of, okay, I can't let this happen to me, I can't let myself fall back and whatnot, it'll eventually happen to you. You will get temptations. You're just going on a journey where you want to improve yourself and whatever, you're just trying to level up. There will be a stage where you fall back. You'll get tempted by things that um, people will call as bad habits and stuff, and you feel really bad about it. Obviously you feel bad about it. You're trying to improve and you're trying to come out of this phase and you're just again falling back to it. I don't want to just be cliche, but it's absolutely normal to fall back into it. It is, in fact, it would be even more weirder if you did not fall back, because it's absolutely normal. In fact, that is, I would look at it as actually a good thing if you do, because what that means is you're pushing yourself, or you're pulling yourself away from such a comfortable life that you're used to. You're doing a bunch of things, you're working hard, you're improving on things that even though you don't want to do it, you have to do it, in order to improve yourself. And as a sign, as a result of that, the temptations that you have to go back to the things you used to do in the past has become higher, and hence those temptations at times get the better of you. That is absolutely normal. In fact, like I said, it's bound to happen. It should happen. It would be a not normal part would be if it does not happen. Now the key here is to spot that problem, spot it when it happens, identify it, and stop it right there and get back on track. How do you do it? Now I'll give you this little example. I remember from a lot of times, in 2022, 2023, throughout these years, I would have, ever since I got really strict with my diet, I would have cheat days. Right? Cheat days, you know what cheat days are. You go crazy and eat whatever the heck you want. And I used to have a lot of these days because I was eating severely less foods on the other days. I wanted to lose weight or whatnot. And when I had these cheat days, what happened was I would have that day where I ate whatever I wanted. Did not freaking track my calories, whatever. Just ate whatever I wanted, and often went to bed feeling absolutely disgusted. I would fill my stomach so much to the point where it's like I was punishing myself for not eating these foods the previous weeks and months. So I'm like, let me shove as much as I possibly can. I get this one day to just go freaking crazy and then eat whatever the heck I want. I did that. Felt bloated, felt horrible. The alarm would ring the next day, and I did not want to get up out of bed because I know I can't freaking move my body anywhere. But whatever, right? I woke up, and going to bed I felt disgusting. But when I woke up, I felt like I would look at the jar of Nutella. I would look at whatever freaking drink there is in the fridge, and I'd be like, why not have one more day? Um, 2 days of doing this can't take all my progress away, right? 2 days of doing this cannot impact me in such a bad way. That's what I used to think. And then the one day of having a cheat day paired up with not going to the gym or doing any fitness activity would now become two. And eventually there would be phases where it's like, let's say it's freaking Thursday, and I'll be like, you know what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll just have the entire week off and then restart from next week, right? This was the thought I had, and I don't even want to think back to those days because it was severely the way it was literally, it was not me enjoying myself, it was me punishing myself. And why did I do this? Because I had those temptations. But I mean, that one day was fine, having the first, bite of a donut or whatever was fine. But letting myself get to the point where I would have the next 2 or 3 days also as a part of that, this is the problem. And I know I'm giving this cheat day example as a problem, but literally for anything. I know there are people who do worse things than that, you struggle with. It's literally for anything. When you have these issues, it's important to spot it, right there when it happens. It happens for the first time, after a long time, that's fine, but do not let it continue. Let's take a freaking big bottle of this, right? A big bottle of water, a jug of water, whatever, right? A couple. I'm talking about this because I spilled water a couple of days ago. So let's say this thing, freaking spilled on the floor, and the full thing, the water starts spilling out, right? The floor is getting wet. Would anyone just sit there and watch it spill out and let the water flow all over the floor? Or would you just randomly, not even randomly, immediately try to pick up the bottle, pick up whatever this thing is, and stop the water from spilling and getting worse? The obvious thing was, as quick as you react to it, oh my god, it's freaking falling, you pull the thing up so that it doesn't get worse, right? Now that is the same when it comes to this. It's an absolute same thing when it comes to not allowing yourself to get into a rut. When you spot that okay, something has gone wrong, I've given into the temptation that I shouldn't have. Instead of sitting there and feeling bad for it, and then eventually being like, you know what, let me just have the next couple days to this as well. Instead of doing that, you stop it right there and then. Stop it, pretend it did not happen, and get back to your being on track, whatever you're doing every single day. For a guy who trains hard and eats right, he eats healthy, eats on a diet, everything for 29 out of 30 days, the one day that he has off, let's say he absolutely binge eats, he eats 20,000 calories. Apart from a little bit of bloat that he may have and feeling disgusted with himself, it's quite literally not going to have any impact on him, because the rest 29 days out of the 30 days he's been perfectly fine. That is going to quite literally have close to no impact at all on his body, his health. I mean, maybe his health, because you don't want to shove that much food into your body in one day, but it's not, I mean, physically it's not going to have that much impact on you, because you're doing something that you don't do regularly at all. But now let's take that same guy, and let's say for the next 2 weeks after that, he continues to eat the same way. Whatever progress he made in the past month, forget it, because it's gone. He's fat. I mean, maybe not fat. Maybe 2 weeks is not enough time to get fat, but he's definitely gained back a lot of weight. His skin breaks out. He feels disgusting. He has no motivation to go to the gym or do anything right. Why? Because that one day spiraled into 2 weeks of this, and now it's actually a problem for him to get back to his normal routine. He was going absolutely amazing. One whole month nearly, he nailed it, and just that one day is enough to turn it around and convince him, what, I just want to enjoy myself a bit more, and that enjoying myself a bit more eventually becomes, how the heck can I get my life back on track? And you do not want to get to this position, because it can be very tempting. Um, and sometimes when you've been on a phase for, I don't want to call it self improvement, but I literally cannot call it anything else. Let's say you've been on this phase of improving yourself for a significant period of time. Sometimes you get a day like this, and you're like, you know what, I can make it up, right? I have 1 week of being off, and then I'll get back on in the next week. You get this phase, and maybe you can, because I have done that too, and eventually I found myself back on track. But don't let it get there, because when you're making progress is one thing, and then to have a little setback is fine. That's going to have no impact on you in terms of whatever it does to you, apart from your head. You're just thinking about it too much. Apart from that, there's literally nothing it's going to do to you. But that one thing is enough to spark a whole freaking collapse of your progress. You do not want to let that happen. I know you may think, okay, just a little more time, let me do it. I'll be fine. I'll just be off for a couple more weeks, and then I'll get back on track. That getting back on track is now not you starting from the beginning, because when you're starting from the beginning, you're motivated, you start doing everything, and then you get into a flow. Now you've disrupted that flow and gone completely back to your square one. But now it's not, you're just starting at square one. You know that you made progress and then ruin the progress. This is what makes it more difficult, because anyone who is 100 pounds overweight will be motivated to lose weight. If you send them motivational speech about losing weight, they hate themselves, the way they look, they will be motivated to lose weight. But let's say they lose 50 pounds. Okay, maybe not 50 pounds. Let's say they lose 10 pounds, and then they give themselves a week of eating whatever. That's enough for them to gain those 10 pounds back. They're not going to be anywhere motivated as they once was in the beginning to restart this whole thing, because they know that, okay, I actually made progress, and then I took that progress away. So when you spot that, okay, there's a bit of a setback, that is perfectly fine. Just get back on track the next day, or the next minute, or whatever. A setback is perfectly fine. In fact, it'll probably happen again and again and again. But you do not want to have back-to-back failures, back-to-back setbacks. If I really get tempted by something I shouldn't, and then give in to that today, I should not do that again today. Or you'll be like, you know what, I have my time off tomorrow as well, and then I'll start day after tomorrow. The rest of the week is for mine, and then next week I'll start. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's the back-to-back stuff that really impacts you negatively. One little mishap here and there isn't going to do literally nothing. I'm going to be honest, nothing for you, nothing negative for you. So just be conscious when it happens, of when it happens, and be like, okay, it happened. Stop feeling bad about it. There's no point feeling bad about it. Whatever's happened. Whatever has to happen has happened. Move on, get back on track, and then another 2 days will be perfectly fine, back on track. Not even 2 days, bro. A day of just getting back on it. You get into a flow, and then it's all about being in that flow. When you disrupt that flow, get back to that flow as quick as possible. Don't disrupt that flow and then go into another whole flow of just going backwards.